okay, your concept has never been successul.
Not once.
Sure, maybe like 12 kids in a youth group somewhere, stayed pure until they got to A&M or whatever. You know what I mean? But let's be honest. So much marketing capital was put into True Love Waits. And every single year, the same kids would come back. It's like
I didn't do it well.
Duh.
I gotta do it again.
Not to mention that when we went to church camp during the summers, that if you went behind the wrong building, they were doing it there.
Hey, welcome back to Pints and Perspectives, a podcast hosted by WellHouse Church, where we believe there is a plethora of theological perspectives and plenty of beer to go around.
Well, you know what, Cullen? I didn't come up with a good intro for this one either.
Bring back Clayton.
Clayton. That was good. Let's call back. Good callback. Here's my intro. Kevin, how you doing today? What's going on, Kevin? You in your office right now?
No, if that
home
you mean
office,
his living room,
home office. Yeah, right. Yeah. What else is going on? It is back to Pints and Perspectives once again. We're happy to see you. Hope you're happy to see us.
By the time this comes out, I do believe Adam will have had a birthday. Adam is 36 now.
Hey! I need a button that goes brat, brat.
Why? You just made your sound.
That's true. I know. Yeah, there you go. I should have recorded it and uploaded it.
There's a finite amount of those buttons. Once we start changing them.
That's true.
If you can create the sound with your mouth, I don't want to waste a button on it.
Whoa. Dude, I'm having a little bit of an existential crisis. I'm like, I am currently 35 years old, but when this digital version of myself is in the ether, I will be 36 years old. I'm like in between time right now. Wait, I have a thing.
Oh, that's so true. That's a great use of that one. I hate that button, but that's a great
I love that button. Anyways.
Oh, no, this is the other one I hate. I think this is a stupid button.
It's just whatever, bro. I love all the buttons. Anyways, I'm older and I'm wiser. I guess.
Older and wiser.
And
I guess, let me look this up real quick, because I do think in between the last episode and this episode, technically you had a birthday, man.
Well, that's just crazy to me,
Yep.
But
I do believe so, because we got this episode coming out then. Yep. Oh, yep, because the last episode came out on the 27th, and this one comes out on May 4th. May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. We should really prepare ahead of time for these episodes.
Well, we just did. Happy May 4th, everyone. I've never seen Star Wars, so I think it's probably somewhat slanderous and sacrilegious for me to say that, but, may the 4th be with you.
No, may the 4th be with you as well. You're still, the midichlorians still are fueling your life like all the rest of us, whether you acknowledge their existence or not, no matter how in touch with the force you may be or not, your life is still part of the great circle of life. So
well, there you go.
It's just, I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go. Oh Lord, may the 4th be with you. I'm older and I'm wiser. And what are you drinking there, Cullen?
This is interesting. So I went and bought beer today before.
Wow.
The episode. Oh my gosh, this guy brings beer one or two times, and he thinks he is king of bringing beer now.
King.
And I saw this, and I just had to try it. So this is I guess the title of the beer is Pilsner.
What?
I'm very confused.
No.
Yes.
Somebody's copyright is being infringed. I don't know.
Authentic craft beer, Pilsner. Traditional American Pilsner with Saaz hops.
No, bro. The title is...
No, sir.
Grit and Glory.
No, sir. No, sir. Have yourself a look, man. Have yourself some education before you go spouting that. No, this is... I don't actually know what the name of the brewery is. I think
4 6s.
Grit and Glory. I think that's the name of the brewery. Is 4 6s colon Grit and Glory.
Okay, what in the world? You know how we can definitively
Or maybe
find
Grit
this
and Glory is their motto, but it's on every single one of their labels, every single one of their cans. And their names of their beers are Hazy Session IPA, Pilsner, and Amber Lager.
We've got to get to the bottom of this. 4 6s.
Grit and Glory.
Wait, when you do 4 6s on Instagram,
it's going to pull up a cattle ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same cattle ranch.
No. The 4 6s Grit and Glory brand celebrates the ranching traditions and values of the famous 4 6s ranch. Our muse is the American cowboy who live a life built around the tradition of family, relentless hard work, and integrity. Our craft beer strives to be the best authentic Texas beer around. We settle for nothing less because that is our way. Our heritage runs deep.
They are the brewer.
No, it's just modeled off after the ranch and the values of the ranch. I don't think it has any connection.
Here it is. Found it. Brewed and canned by Grit and Glory Brewing Company.
There you go.
Lawrenceville, Georgia. I get my beer from Mountain, Georgia. What?
That's a Justin Bieber song.
I love Justin Bieber. I've been a Bieber fan
but Georgia
since day
is known
one.
for the peach. And so it makes sense that he would get his peaches in Georgia and his weed from California.
This is true. This is true. Okay, so Grit and Glory is also a lifestyle boutique and brand out of New York. Then there's 4 6s Grit and Glory Brewery.
And 4 6s is like out in Podunk, Guthrie, Texas.
This is such a confusing situation because their Instagram is the 4 6s Grit and Glory brand.
Yeah.
So that's the same. It's like
it's like it's a play off of it, but like they're their own entity.
But certainly it's got to be the same people.
I'm sure they're licensing.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure they're licensing
it's the same logo.
Yeah, I'm sure they're licensing the right and they're sourcing it through Grit and Glory.
I'm afraid this beer is going to be trash.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. You know, I've never watched Yellowstone, to be fair. I don't know if that's a good show. I hear it is. But, you know, I grew up a cowboy.
But
I do cowboy things. So
yeah,
I had to try it.
This is brewed for cowboys.
Yeah. And they also have a hazy session, which I'd be interested to give that a try. But their Pilsner, it just says it's a traditional Pilsner. It's 5.0 ABV.
Well, good luck with whatever it is.
It's a Pilsner.
Yeah.
With sauce hops.
This is another Back Pew Brewing.
Hey, shout out Porter, Texas.
I think I tried a Back Pew 2 episodes ago, maybe 3.
2
ago. Yeah. And this is the Tanuki. Tanuki is brewed on the hot side with equal parts Maris Otter and Pilsner malt to keep the beer from being too overbearing malty on the palate, but to leave a solid foundation for the hops. All of those IBUs are accumulated during a cold whirlpool of Sultana, Azaka, and Comet hops for a super fruity experience. We ferment it with a Hornindal Kivik yeast, whatever. For a punchy pineapple type of flavor.
That's a German yeast.
Well, and then
they're screwing around with yeast as an ingredient in an IPA. That's dope.
For a punchy pineapple type of flavor.
That's dope.
And then add a healthy dry hop. Oh, now that's interesting. Near saturation for the extra aroma at the end.
I bet that beer is fire.
Also, the can art is
Tanuki.
Incredible. When we were picking beers, I saw the can art and I was like, I want that one. So I think it's some sort of raccoon samurai chopping through hops with his samurai sword.
That's the Ninja Turtle.
Nah, bro, he was a rat.
Oh, that's right.
Splinter.
He's a rat.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's a raccoon.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Indian Pale Ale, 6.4% ABV, 35 IBU, 12 ounces in a can. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Cheers.
Bro. I get my beer from out in Georgia. Oh my gosh, this is a pineapple fruit explosion of a nose. Opening the can.
You should put it in a glass.
Nose to can.
You'll
Oh, I'm
get
about
more on
to.
it.
But I'm like, just the fullness of a pineapple aroma just like rushes out of the can. I already know I'm gonna like this beer. I love pineapples.
Yo,
It's good.
Grit and Glory.
Oh no.
This is a great beer.
Uh-uh.
This is a great Pilsner beer.
We don't even know where it's from.
We get our beer from out in Georgia, apparently. This is a great beer. I mean, it's a great Pilsner. It's got,
Holy crap. Okay, I'm going to let you finish. Go ahead.
you know how I on Pilsners because lots of times they don't carry enough Pilsner malt and they sub with
There's
American
no-
Two-Row.
and there's no
There's
flavor.
no body. There's
Yeah.
no flavor. This is not the case.
Okay.
There's a lot of Pilsner malt. There's a lot of carbonation.
Good German Pilsner.
Very refreshing. And it's not light necessarily.
Yeah, it's bodied.
It's bodied. Yeah. Shout. 7-4.
Whoa!
Go off. Grit and Glory. Go off.
You have a little bit of a branding issue, but you
I'm
do not
sure-
have a beer issue.
I'm sure it's the licensing.
Yeah.
If you need help, I am a paralegal.
There you go. Cullen's always looking to do some work. This Tanuki is incredible. I really like fruity IPAs that don't have an overbearing IBU, an overbearing bitter, because I like sometimes the hops is so bitter that that's the only flavor of the beer.
Yes.
And I get it. Cool. You guys do your thing. I have an
off.
appreciation for the art, but this thing is like drinking a pineapple cocktail with a little bit of hops, with a little bit of bite.
Oh.
It is exactly as billed. It tastes incredible. It isn't hot. They say that it's brewed on the hot side. 6.4 ABV. Let's see. It's balanced. It's malty. It's fruity. It's hoppy.
Look at this resume.
It clears it clears the palate. Like nothing lingers, to like an annoying amount of time. Like everything just kind of, and the can art is so freaking cool. Back Pew, you've done it.
It is a fire can art.
This is an incredible IPA. I bet there are hopheads that would not like this beer though.
I'm a hophead. Let me see.
It is all about the fruit on that beer, which is what they say.
Ooh.
It is. So yeah, here, let me taste yours. This 4 Seasons. What is it? 4 Sixes. That's a great Pilsner with a lot of body.
That's a fantastic beer.
It's an IPA. Like for an
That is a
IPA,
fantastic beer. All that fruit is popping.
I mean, it's nothing but a fruit explosion.
I get like passion fruit and like lots of tropical fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, that is going. What's the ABV on that?
6.4.
Ooh, a little more than crushable, but golly, it drinks like it's crushable.
I mean, every sip, I want more, and I'm not.
I give that beer like that beer's at. Yeah, shout out 4-6 like Grit Glory, whoever you are. This beer is great. That beer, that's pushing 8s.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like 7-9.
I was giving it an 8. I'm gonna give it an
Yeah.
8. I'm gonna give it an 8.
That's a money beer. Back Pew, go off.
That is really, really well done. Really well done. And I think doing the dry hop at the end, they do a healthy dry hop at the end near saturation. I mean, it gives it just the bite that it needs.
Yeah.
So, well done. 4 Sixes also
With
has
their
a ranch
blue
water.
agave. Blue agave, natural lime juice ranch water.
Interesting.
Spicy habanero and juicy mango ranch water?
All this stuff is made in Georgia?
I guess.
No, that says Texas.
Well, but I think.
But the ranch is in Texas? I don't
Well,
understand.
4 Sixes ranch is in Texas. And the ranch water concept started in Texas.
Look, prickly pear ranch water, bold flavor margarita. Oh, it is a canned margarita.
Blackberry pomegranate.
Where did you buy this beer?
Kroger. By your house.
Wow.
The one on 43rd.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
H-E-B, Kroger, Albertsons, Market Street, Randall, Sprouts, Target. Tom Thumb. You ever been to a Tom Thumb?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
It's like, has Adam ever been to a Tom Thumb?
I have been to a
Total Wine, Walmart, and Winco Foods. You ever been to a Winco Foods?
Never been to a Winco.
Yeah, that's like that's a out there Texas thing.
I don't know what a Winco is.
That's that country Texas thing.
Where's the Brookshire Brothers? That's what I'm saying.
Well, they're not in that part of Texas. Winco is the Brookshire Brothers.
All right.
It's just down the street, or a couple states over from the Winn-Dixie.
Okay, all right. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for getting my bearings.
You're welcome.
Man, good beer day. Good beer episode.
Good beer episode.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
I guess more sex.
Well, we are, but we bounced around a lot of episode ideas, but we hadn't really talked about which one we're going to do.
Let's talk about purity culture. Why the hey not?
All right, go off. Let's go. Start us, since you didn't start us on the intro.
Somebody's got to take the buttons away from Cullen. Well, I am just now in the past year, I think, really picking apart the effects of purity culture on my life. And because so much of my adolescence, my childhood and my church experience was so permeated with purity culture. I got it at home, at church, at school. I mean, it was, I lived in Texas in the 90s. So it was a big deal. And then, youth group was like a huge part of my life. And we did True Love Waits every year. I had a purity ring, a couple of them, I guess. And
because you had to redo it when you
just because I went every year and it was always, I don't know. It really formed my concept of sexuality, and it was really the only input of sexuality that I had in my life. Like, I wasn't getting a lot of diverse opinion or thought. And so I was indoctrinated just by definition. And I got married early, had kids early.
How old were you when you got married?
23. Just celebrated 12 years of marriage.
Attaboy.
I prefer this sound.
Oh, my God. Who brought this clown?
You did.
I did.
Bring back Clayton. That beer is incredible. I could drink a 6-pack of that. I might regret it.
I was fixing to say, I think I'm going to go buy a 6-pack of that.
That is incredible beer. Okay.
I might go buy a 6-pack of this.
Wow.
I need to work in the garden.
That's a 12-pack.
Hey.
Math.
Adam said, I know my boy. He's going to want more than 6 of those.
Fair.
Hey, it's lighter ABV.
That's
true. Off.
That's true. Yeah. Crushable. I don't know. What else do we want to say? I mean, I'm just only now figuring out, like, it really caused me to be detached from my body. That's what I've learned.
Well, it naturally creates this dichotomy. Well, okay. Before I give my, feedback on purity culture, because I've clearly had a lot more time to dialogue and think about it. Day one, I showed up at Truett Seminary, which is where I did my second master's, and he did his first and a much longer master's.
Yeah.
Day one, I show up. I'm in a class, and we're in like pastoral care, and like the professor's like, "What do you want to get out of this?" And a conversation just erupts, and Truett Seminary is a place very affirming of women. And we're in a pastoral care class, almost dominated by women.
Yeah.
And I'm in here, and conversation number one, like maybe 10% of the class is about how purity culture damaged all these women that want to be in ministry in this class.
Yeah.
So maybe before I give my feedback on purity culture and the way that I've heard the voices of women speak about this and read books like, Making a Biblical Womanhood.
Yeah.
Some of these other great ones. And when you went to these, you were marrying Jesus with the ring, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's the whole thing, right? Okay. And
I was in a.
You were in a deep, intimate relationship with Jesus.
Well, at least that's what I was told I needed to be in.
Figuratively, because no homosexuality.
Right, no, right.
Okay.
I don't know, though. When I got deep off into the charismatic world, there was some like homoerotic like vibes where like people would talk about like Jesus as a lover and being a laid down lover of Jesus and him being our bridegroom and your gender not really mattering and like prayer was about making love to Jesus and like in these and if arousal occurred, like it just, dude, like some of them charismatic groups go off.
Look, I'm just telling y'all, if you ever invite me to a charismatic rally, I'll happily go. I have my fair share. My uncle is in the AG world.
That's true.
I've been to my fair share. I've received my words of knowledge. I've given words of knowledge. If you tell me to sleep with a Middle Eastern Mediterranean man,
in my mind,
I'm not going there with you. That's not what I signed up for, yo. I think I'm running away.
I literally had there was a time with my therapist where we spent like weeks on defining intimacy because my concept of intimacy was so wrapped up in
like a figurative spiritual idea.
A figurative spiritual idea that was like coupled with a high intensity, high control religious practice. And like when it came to trying to figure out what intimacy meant in my marriage, I didn't know how to define the term because it had been used so ubiquitously in my spiritual abuse.
Yeah.
And like the concept of like sex, also like the majority of my time spent in evangelical life, I was also doing anti-sex trafficking nonprofit work. And so the concept of sexuality was constant in my life and it was always in the context of like abuse and horror and perversion and inappropriateness and all these things. And so I didn't know what intimacy with my wife apart from all of those like really well-crafted indoctrinating concepts were kind of peeled back. And remarkably, as I have deconstructed from purity culture, my sex life is better. My intimacy with my spouse is better. My ability to discuss sexuality with my children is far more authentic and honest and
better.
All the things.
Yeah.
And so, right. And yeah, I have tons more to say, but what did I answer your question? I don't even know if I answered the question.
No, it's great. Look, you mentioned that purity culture created this disconnect with your body.
Oh, that was the biggest thing. I think
it absolutely, in some ways it's designed to do that.
Oh, 100% it's designed to do that.
Because the fear here is, well, maybe the fear is a lot of things. Maybe I shouldn't say exactly what the fear is. Maybe there's a lot of things that
there is a fear.
There's a fear where a dad doesn't want to have a daughter that gets knocked up and have to deal with her.
Exactly.
If I'm being honest. That's real to say. But,
there's so many.
But I think that's a lot of the driving factor of this.
Sure. Definitely.
But what I'll also say is I think the way that it was constructed theologically, it creates quite a bit of conundrum because you tell this young girl or this young person that they're getting married to Jesus in this very formal ceremony that some people spend lots of money doing because they want it to be this big deal and they want it to mean something. And so you do this big formal ceremony and you marry this person to Jesus. But just to speak quite frankly, Jesus does not satisfy the sexual desires of that individual.
Oof. But see,
Wait.
That's not what I was told.
Oh, because you were told that those sexual desires were of the flesh.
Yeah, right.
And they were bad.
Right.
Which now told you that
Right.
anything my body tells me
Right.
is not good and I shouldn't listen to it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Look, it creates this system where you're told that you can't trust your body and the things that your body's telling you. And, for me, I had a little bit different story with it. I mean, my dad was my youth pastor, and we only did purity culture for girls, right? It wasn't really a dude thing, because boys will be boys. I don't think anybody would say that. I definitely got in trouble for having sex and trying to have sex.
Mischievous baby Cullen.
Oh, you don't know.
Different
the half
podcast.
of it. Yeah.
Different
That's
podcast.
on the other podcast.
It's true.
No, yeah. So for me, it was coupled with, well, your body really doesn't, anything your body's telling you doesn't matter because we're cowboys. Pain don't hurt.
Oh, interesting.
And so as your body's communicating pain to you and your body's communicating sex to you, two things that you're told shouldn't matter, and you need to train yourself not to feel, you create disconnect with your body. These are the things I work on in therapy all the time, is trying to reconnect these things as both connected and disconnected, but equally intimate to my person.
Yeah.
Purity culture takes all that away from you. And I did the same thing. I was worse. I got married at 21 to my high school sweetheart who 7 years into our marriage, 2 kids cheated on me.
Yep.
I blame purity culture.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%. I blame purity culture.
Yeah.
I think the other thing it does is purity culture creates unrealistic expectations for people.
Jeez.
Because
absolutely.
You put all this time in and all this time waiting to have sex, but you don't know how. And you've had all this buildup and you just convinced yourself that your wedding night is going to be a whirlwind unlike you have ever known.
Right.
But because you're both virgins, none of you know how to.
Nothing
is good.
Nothing's good. Yeah. Well,
it is a catastrophic system for a person, for a human. The self-worth that is deteriorated and demolished in women because of this culture is appalling.
Right. It's also yes to all of that. And it's also this like on-off switch scenario where you're told constantly,
don't think about sex.
Turn it off, 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 turn it off. But wait, today, this special day, when you leave the reception, now you can turn it on. That's impossible.
Yeah.
That's impossible. It's not a switch that can be flipped on and off. In fact, it takes a ton of cultivation and exploration and ingenuity. And so the problem with one of the many problems with purity culture is this constant barrage of resist, but you've now crossed a threshold to where you shouldn't resist anymore, even though you've trained your entire life to resist. You've cut out certain media, you've cut out certain friendships, you've cut out certain just the concept that like your eyes won't wander, or like Jesus, like adultery, when your eyes wander, like you're committing adultery, or like Jesus sees that as sin or something like that. Let's all just be honest for 1 second here. Let's all just put our cards on the table and say, when a good looking person walks past us, we look. Can we just be honest? Can we just say that no matter how much we love Jesus or don't love Jesus, that when that thing walks by, our eyeballs go, dang, that thing. And
thing.
And you might move on about your day and continue shopping for the potatoes and not think anything of it. Or maybe you take it to a place to where you're like really lusting over this person. That's not the point. The point is, can we just be all honest and say that like sexuality is real and like it happens? But I was convinced by the arbiters of the purity in my life that moment while I'm shopping for potatoes, if my eyes wander, then like my soul is on fire and headed to hell.
Oh yeah.
And I have to mitigate against that.
Well, because you just committed adultery.
Right.
And so as a newly married person, that's like heinous. Like when I first got married, I could have never imagined, like I might keel over. Like my ex-wife would point out, oh, that woman was so beautiful. I'd be like, what woman?
Right.
Not because I genuinely was like trying to cover my, but because I had genuinely trained myself.
Me too.
Do not look at other women.
Me too. It's like gouge out your eyes. And I was like, okay.
Yes, I took Jesus at his words.
Okay.
I was like, it is my responsibility to protect my mind and the things that I look at and see as I look upon the world. And so I just trained myself not to look upon women.
Same.
And at some point, we need to, maybe we'll do this in the Jesus episode, but I did some work looking up like some Greek words about lust and some of those things. And we'll talk about those in another episode. But I think the thing that's so interesting to me is we can sit here and say all day long, don't think about sex. Don't think about sex.
Right.
Sex is bad. Sex is bad. Sex is bad. But you know what? In the same way I tell my haters, whether you're thinking about me because you love what I do or thinking about me because you hate what I do, I'm still always on your mind. In the same way.
It's so true. That's what a great analogy. Go ahead.
In the same way, if you constantly tell people, don't have sex, sex is bad, don't lust, don't look at that woman, don't do this, don't admire beauty, you're just putting their mind on it. Like the hearers of that are hearing sex, and you're depriving them of it. And so they're thinking sex.
But look, this is the torture of it. This is the intentional cognitive dissonance that's created within so many evangelical concepts. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. That causes me to think about it. But then I'm being told, don't think about it. And then I'm being told that if you do think about it, well, then you're in sin, or like the devil has control over you, or you're fueled by demons, or you're just not strong enough, or not prayed enough, or not fasting enough, or, whatever the reason is. Shame. If you do not meet the threshold, it is shame that pushes you down. Shame is the motivator. But don't think about it.
Which is so wrong.
But don't think about it. But don't think about it. Yeah. But don't think about it. But wait, you thought about it? Yeah. You don't think about it?
Yeah.
You thought about it? Don't think about it.
I can't believe you thought about it.
Who's
on first?
It's insanity. It's insanity. And here, you know why it's insanity? Because it's not a choice. It's biology. Yeah. There's a system in my body created by God for all you deists out there, or those of you who believe in God. There's a system created by God in my body that goes do, 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 find mate, procreate. I can't help that.
Yeah.
My body needs to, I was going to use a word that was a little bit too graphic. Experience pleasure. I'm designed to do that. And a resistance against that is a resistance against my very nature, which when you resist your very nature and what you're designed to do, what your biology is supposed to do, that is where cognitive dissonance comes in. That's where anxiety and depression comes in. And that's where you start to disassociate from your body and you start to have very serious negative consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. I think,
this is why priests have a history of raping children.
Well, it's so true. Why. It's so true. It's so true. And I'll give my parents a lot of credit because, I was not one of the Christians' household where sex was not talked about.
Yeah, no.
Shout out Kev. My dad told me when we had our birds and the bees conversation, he said, if you don't remember anything from this conversation, I want you to remember one thing.
I've heard this.
Make sure she get hers.
Which is great advice.
It's great advice to a young man. It's great advice to a young man.
And all the ladies went...
Yeah. But you know what? It's impossible to ask someone to suppress those in the way that purity culture did. Because we've not talked about this, and maybe this is how we should spend the last 7 minutes of our episode, but purity culture also told you couldn't masturbate because that's lust.
100%. 100%.
I remember one time somebody gave me the consolation that if I could lust without imagining a woman,
then it's okay.
And more specifically, I pressed them. I was like, what if it's just not a face? And they were like, oh, it's not an individual person? I was like, yeah. They were like, that's probably fine. I was like, looking back on it now, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because that's the epitome of objectification. I'm literally imagining a woman for her holes and the structure, the curvature of her body. That's stupid. That's the worst advice you could give a repressed 16-year-old.
They were like, yeah, God approves.
Yeah. Like, what? Do you know God? Like, what is this?
Dude, sexual repression, like, there's so much psychology. Like, sexual repression is almost always going to lead to adverse outcomes. Yep. Almost always. And sometimes those adverse outcomes are rape. Yeah. Some of those adverse outcomes are suicide. Trigger warning. Some of those adverse outcomes adultery. Are exactly adultery, or like infidelity issues, or just like dishonesty, or alcoholism, or
abuse of all kinds,
all sorts of things. Like, when you repress what you are created to do, and I'm not saying that everybody, like, I'm not saying that everybody should just be having orgies all the time everywhere. That's
right. No. Nobody's saying that.
There are boundaries. There are boundaries.
Oh, 1,000, and we're going to talk about it.
Right.
Moving forward, there are absolutely boundaries, and we're going to talk about it.
But when you create a system to indoctrinate children from a young age, prepubescent age, through their puberty, through like the most triggering and arduous time of a young person's life, and you tell them that something core to who they are that they cannot control, that they're not choosing, like the chemicals in their bodies are not giving them the choice to get horny or not. And you tell them that if they do get horny, that God is displeased, they are sinning, and their like soul is on the line, and they better figure out how to fix it quickly when they literally can't.
You know what I just thought about?
That's insanity.
You remember on our episode about the armor of God, where you were talking about how you felt like the church was like creating these little warriors?
Yes. Little sexually repressed warriors.
They were creating the Unsullied.
Oh, look at him with the Game of Thrones reference once more. Yeah, that's right.
Sexually repressed warriors.
That's right.
Who have no fear. Because Jesus is on my side.
And who will die for the cause.
Who will die for the cause. Absolutely.
Even though they're being castrated.
And sexually repressed. Yeah.
This is the system. This is the system.
It's not a good system. I do truly believe that by and large, it was created by those that created it with the best intentions.
Sure, absolutely.
In mind, but it's certainly created far more harm. Looking back on it, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. We could sit here and hindsight the world and point out all the things we've done wrong.
Sure.
But learning and progressing is acknowledging where we effed it.
Yeah.
And moving forward and trying to fix it. And this is definitely an area where we have effed it.
Yeah.
And purity culture and all of sexuality, the modern Western Christian has effed it.
Yeah.
It's not a good system. It's broken. It's harming our children. It's harming the people as we move forward and try to be good citizens of society. It's time for us to rethink human sexuality as modern or postmodern Western Christians.
Well, for that reason, very well done. That's a compelling argument. We should also rethink it because this has never worked.
Never. Not once.
It has failed generation after generation of young person. Like,
and we could point back to all the times when, growing up, how many times did you see her in these same conversations, evangelical Catholics?
Oh, yeah.
Because of their priest abuse.
Oh, yeah.
And then 20 years later, here we are, and it's actually our pastors that are ones that are doing it just as much.
Apparently, there's a list of them somewhere.
Justin, Texas. Apparently, that list is over 750 long.
I'm just saying, like this is the thing. It's like, okay, your concept has never been successable. Like,
Not once.
Sure, maybe like 12 kids in a youth group somewhere, stayed pure until they got to A&M or whatever. You know what I mean? But let's be honest. So much marketing capital was put into True Love Waits. And every single year, the same kids would come back. It's like,
I didn't do it well.
Duh.
I gotta do it again.
Not to mention that when we went to church camp during the summers, that if you went behind the wrong building, they were doing it there.
Hey, Lake Tomahawk, that bus, that abandoned bus. I can tell you, every year somebody was effing in that bus.
Every church camp has a place.
I know.
Every single one of them. Let's be honest about this.
Look, my last thing that I want to say about purity culture, and it really is my true rant. It creates harm in our young girls because when they can't stay pure, and what you ridiculous people call purity is don't do anything except kiss.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like the term itself and the way that it's been weaponized is just a whole other situation.
When you do this and you marry them to Jesus and they are not pure, you force them to divorce Jesus. As if Jesus somehow no longer loves them. Ooh, man, as if Jesus is the one who's incapable of forgiving that. As if the book of Hosea doesn't exist.
Whoa.
You make them divorce Jesus. You make them take that ring off and walk with the shame of what they've done like a scarlet letter.
There's going to be a lot of bleeps in this episode.
Foghorns.
But that's it, bro. That's it. It's harmful.
Look,
it's harmful.
On this podcast, we advocates for women and for change and for the betterment of society. So, gang, gang.
That's it.
Thanks for listening to the Pints and Perspectives podcast hosted by WellHouse Church. Be sure to give us a rating and a review if you enjoyed the episode. It's free and it helps us immensely. Also, feel free to check out our other podcasts.